Wow. Well, hello, everybody. Preparing for final walkthroughs in San Diego sales.
Hello,
Hello,
everyone.
everybody.
Welcome in. Welcome in. New intro, right?
Right? Very exciting, huh?
Yep. Yep. Very exciting.
We're elevating our podcast over here,
Yep. Make
right?
it a little bit better every day. So something good, and we got a very important topic today. So I'm looking forward to ask you some questions and get to it.
Get to it. All right. So let's talk about final walkthroughs. Final walkthroughs and how they work and what do they entail?
I mean, a good question. A question I have is, as a someone that does this whole final walkthrough, you just walk through the house before it ends. What does it really come like included in that final walkthrough that you're doing? What exactly are you looking for, or what is something that you should be, acknowledging, looking for?
Looking into, right?
Correct. Yeah.
So the purpose of final walkthrough or verification of property condition, that's the new name. And we used to call it final walkthrough, and then the name changed to verification of property condition. And no matter what you call it, the purpose of it is that you make sure that the property still has everything intact, just like you saw it when you first walked in through the door. Years ago, I had a property that had some really nice lighting fixtures. And so the seller, which actually happened to be my client because I was representing the seller decided that prior to close of escrow that they were going to replace all of the lighting fixtures, and they happened to have some really really nice ones, as I said. So then when the buyer walked in for doing their final walkthrough, the buyer was just going crazy because here all these really nice lighting fixtures were replaced by some
Yeah.
ordinary
Cheap ones.
cheap ones.
Yeah.
And we almost had the transaction break, and at that point we actually had to basically say, you know what, the buyer threatened that, okay, since our loan is going to based on our loan, we have to close this transaction. We're going to close the transaction, and then we're going to go sue the seller in a small claims court.
Oh,
And of
wow.
course, who wants to get a lawsuit after the sale, right? So we said, you know what? And then so I had to go back to the seller and say, hey guys, what's up? How come you removed? Oh, we wanted these, and we just forgot to say that in the transaction. We forgot to mention that we wanted the fixtures. So the buyers were very, very specific that they didn't want a replacement. They didn't want a credit. They wanted those fixtures back. So fortunately, the seller agreed to bring the fixtures back and reinstall them in the house so that we didn't have to deal with a
Yeah.
with a lawsuit. But that's essentially one of the complications that could happen if you don't if you remove stuff out of the house that you're not supposed to.
Yeah.
Now, that after that experience, what I always go through and tell our potential clients is right in the beginning when we're going through a walkthrough and we're deciding, okay, we're putting the property up for sale. I ask them, okay, what is it that you want to see that's going to stay with the property? What is it that you want to basically have it be removed out of the property?
Yeah.
And especially lighting fixtures. If the lighting fixtures is one of those things that you really want, no, just take it out even before you put the property up for sale, because what people don't see, people don't want. how do they even know? Like, for example, I actually walked into to a house, and the house had some really, really nice mirrors in the bathrooms. And they were saying that these are artwork that some family member had made, and that they wanted to take them. So my suggestion was, then don't let the buyer see them at all. Take them
Yeah,
off, put some new ones in their place that are generic, that are nice, and people don't even know about the artwork that you had hanging in the bathrooms before.
correct. Yeah,
So so
that's one way to go about that.
that's one way to go about it.
What about like repairs? Let's say there's some repairs that need to be taken care of during the transaction. Is that when you would check and see that they were taken care of? What exactly would you do for those repairs? Maybe termite, or if there's whatever it is.
Yeah. So repairs, in my opinion, are one of those things that you try to avoid. The best strategy to deal with repairs is to avoid them. And what I mean by that is not to say, you just basically ignore the requirements or ignore the buyer's wishes, but it's always, always, always cleaner to say, okay, I want one, two, and three, and X, Y, and Z in terms of repair, and
Mhm.
then you negotiate that. You put a price on them, and you say, okay, the cost of repairing these items is X amount of dollars, and based on that X amount of dollars, I, the seller, will give you, the buyer, this much for those repairs. And then everybody's happy. This side can get the money and hire whoever they want to make the repairs, and this side is just basically doesn't have to do any of the work. They're just going to give money in exchange, and then everybody's happy.
Yeah,
If you deal with repairs this way, and you basically deal with repairs with an exchange of money, then it's clean, and there are no false pretenses, there's no misunderstandings, there's no hard feelings or anything like that. But if you decide to do a repair, there's also other complications that come up. Number one is, you send a request for repairs as the buyer. You send a request for repairs. As the seller, you look at a request for repairs, and you either approve it or you deny it. So if you deny it, then it's simple, it's denied. If
yeah,
you approve it, now you basically ask the buyer to remove their contingencies, and then you, the seller, get to work to make those repairs.
correct.
Now, once the buyer removes their contingencies, then they are out of luck,
Yeah,
right? Because they already removed their contingencies. And the seller does have an obligation to make those repairs. But what happens if the seller decides not to make those repairs, or makes those repairs to a lower standard than what the buyer expects? Now you have a whole can of worms,
yeah,
and you have potential lawsuits, you have potential hard feelings, you may have disputes that arise as a result. So again, another reason why you want to avoid doing the repairs rather than deal with them as credits.
yeah. Because I mean, it could all be, maybe you say, oh, you want a wall touched up and repainted, and it might be just a little bit off on the shade of the color, and that could be enough to make the buyer be like, I
I don't like
don't like this.
this.
Yeah, and it could cause some big issues. So definitely
Yeah.
something to consider when you're, you know, looking at those repairs. So
Now, some other complications could be seller in possession. In other words, if the seller, if there is a agreement in place that transaction is going to close, and then the seller remains at the property,
hmm,
right?
yeah,
Now you also have complications that, okay, the buyer doesn't get to have the keys right at close of escrow. The seller still remains at the property. So what happens when you did the final walkthrough prior to close and then 5-10 days later the seller leaves, and now you have to do another final walkthrough and make sure that from prior to close of escrow to after close of escrow, the property is still in the same condition.
Yeah.
Otherwise, now you again may deal with a unhappy buyer, and you also might deal with a careless seller if they didn't take care of the property to the best of their ability in that 3 or 4 days in between
Mhm.
closing and then leaving.
So speaking of that, when would you want to schedule that final walk or the final walk through the last inspection? Should you do it a day before closing? Should you do it day of closing? When would you recommend someone to have that scheduled to, see the property?
I would say it's always best to schedule your final walkthrough about 5 days prior to close of escrow date.
Okay.
So that is always the best case scenario.
Okay. Just in case
Um,
there's something that comes up, there can be some time to, you know, put things together.
exactly.
I see. I see. What are some things that do you need to take anything to the inspection? Maybe bring the reports that you got from, let's say the termite work inspection reports, or, what exactly would you take to verify that it's in the right, you know, condition?
So so termite is a little bit more regulated than other repairs, right?
Yeah.
The termite report basically is a report that you have a termite inspector do, and they're very specific in what needs to be done. And then based on that, they're going to have to give you a clearance. So there's a little bit more of accountability and regulation to that termite work and termite clearance. So you don't have to worry about it as much.
Yeah.
But if it's some other report, some other estimate, then that's a different story, right?
Okay.
So that being the case, then um, then yes, you want to carry your sign and you want to carry your list and make sure that things are done um, uh, as uh, as good as they need to be.
Okay. Okay. And what are some tips that you would give an agent before for both sides, for the selling side as well as the buyer side, before the final walkthrough?
Say that again.
What are some tips that you would give an agent, both, doesn't matter, both on the selling side and the buyer side, before before going into that final walkthrough? What are some tips that you would give them,
I would say
especially if
I
you're
would
selling?
say you want to make sure on the seller side, think of it as you want that buyer to have the best experience, and uh, so make sure that the place is cleaned up, make sure that you go through that list and have everything be done correctly, and also it never hurts to go a little bit above and beyond to not only make sure that everything is cleaned up, but for example, we make a buyer basket right
Yeah.
before we close. So and our buyer basket has toilet paper, has Windex, has soap and dish
Yeah.
detergent, and the basics that when the buyer opens the door and goes in, um, that initial day right after closing, they're going to look and they're going to need and they're going to be excited to see, have a bouquet of flowers be there, make it feel welcoming, make it feel like, it's exciting to be inside this house,
Exactly.
and
Hmm.
to have this be your your next place that you're going to be living in for and a lot of the times your dream home after,
Exactly.
uh, years of either being a renter or years of living, for example, in a condo, and now all of a sudden you're in a house, or you're in a 2 bedroom, now you're in a 4 bedroom, whatever the case may be. It's always exciting to get
Yeah.
into a new place. So, and if we can help to make it more exciting, why not?
Yeah. You don't want to walk in with holes in the walls and nails everywhere and
Exactly.
stuff like that, or
I,
even leftover stuff from the seller.
I mean, and some people may say, well, that's not the place that you're buying, but that may not be your experience. Or, we bought a place that we're in right now, and our place was a complete fixer when we first moved in, right? But it was still super super exciting, and it was a place. The house hardly had any water, the
Yeah.
house hardly had any electricity. I mean, it was a tear down when we bought it, but still, it was our brand new home. It was in the location that we really wanted to have it, and it was still exciting to be through this, have access to this property, and some a bouquet of flower would have gone a long way.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Definitely some good points.
good points, right?
Yeah.
And and another thing I would say, cleaning. Let's go back to cleaning, right?
Having cleaners.
Cleaners. Standard of cleanliness is different for every person, every family, every whoever it is, the buyer and the seller. But in general, I would say either you want to make sure that there is some sort of a cleaning being done, or you want to make sure that there is a credit given for that cleaning, so that the new buyer walks in, they're walking into a better experience and more exciting situation, and they feel good about the property.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely something
So
to take note of, and add it from the beginning of the contract, basically giving them that credit afterwards, right?
yeah, exactly,
So,
exactly.
yeah, I mean, is there anything else important on final walkthroughs that you can advise our buyers out there or even sellers that are
Well, I tell you what, one thing that's really important for us to ask for business, right?
yeah,
So let's not forget to do that. So audience, if you are watching our program, and if you have any further questions, there's my phone number. Please give me a call, or you can reach Santi. There's his phone number.
there you
And
go.
of course, if you find our final walkthrough subject helpful, or any other subjects that we bring to you, if you find them helpful, please give us a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel, so that as we're posting more videos, you are able to be notified about them. And of course, you can also reach us out on our website. We also like to hang out in other social media places like Instagram. There's our Instagram account. Please give us a follow. And if you are hanging out on Facebook, if that's where you are watching our program, please give us a follow on Facebook as well. You can reach us via email. There is my email address that is our team email, and you can reach us there. And of course, anywhere in the US, if you're thinking of buying or selling, we want to be your go-to realtors. So give us a call, and thank you for watching.
Thank you, everyone. I'll see you guys on the next one.